Welcome on the call. Well, I am just absolutely excited, ecstatic over having our guest speaker tonight, which is April Luce. April and I have known each other not a long while, but we've known each other for a few months now. April is a very active realtor, and her husband are very active in real estate investing. April is in the Mineola area, which is East Texas. So, April, welcome to our call tonight.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So, April, tell us who you are and where you're at and where you do business.
So, you covered some of it. My name's April. I've been a realtor for the past 13 plus years. Dabbled in investing throughout, and then really started being an active investor in the last year to 2 years. I work anywhere from Dallas out to Longview. I live in Ben Wheeler and work Mineola, Tyler, Lindale, as close to home as possible, but willing to travel. And yeah, I do a little bit of everything: the real estate sales, wholesaling, buy and hold, and flipping.
So, April, how did you actually get into the business of investing?
It started through being a realtor. I worked in Houston and did a lot of land acquisition for developers. And so that kind of introduced me to that side of it, how they were turning profits that way. So I started just flipping land and then just got the bug that, I could do this myself. And I'm very much monkey see, monkey do. So I just kind of started copying that behavior and learning through people like Roger and YouTube and other people doing it. So, yeah.
Awesome. Does your husband work with you?
He does. So he is my behind the scenes consultant, I guess you could say. So everything we do together, I'm more upfront with it. He put his license inactive just because we were able to do everything through mine. And then he does a lot of the construction type work on some of the projects. So that's handy to have him for that too.
Yeah.
What kind of investments are you looking for?
So I am really interested in single family and multifamily to hold for rentals. I'm a student of Robert Kiyosaki and want that mailbox money. I think like everybody else does, the financial freedom. So something that I can do, minimal work to, and that cash flows. I'm interested in mobile homes as well, and I'm really kind of been interested in creating this lately, getting a little piece of land and putting some RVs on it for rentals. So really I'm interested in cash flow.
Right.
Anything that cash flows is what I'm looking for.
What are you doing right now? Tell us about your latest project.
So most recent one that we picked up was two duplexes in Tyler, and it started out a project that I was going to wholesale. I didn't feel maybe quite ready to take it on myself, and so I was initially looking to just pass it off to another investor. Um, as that progressed, it just became more interesting that I would hold it, and so um, we got it at a really good price, and it ended up turning to be a subject to property. And so got with a partner that I actually met through Roger's impact meeting, and we kind of combined forces and took it down. So we just closed on that probably a week or two ago, and Zach's doing the renovations and turning tenants over, and so that's been a very exciting project that we've most recently worked on.
Very
I
good. How
love
did you
that.
find the sellers? How did you find their why? How did you find the reason they wanted to sell, and how did you fix their needs on that basis?
Yeah, so I've learned that is the most important skill. I think if anything out of real estate investing is to be able to learn what people need. And then if you can just bring value to them. So this one was unique. Most of my deals I do not find on the MLS. This one just so happened to be on the MLS. I had called, made an offer several months prior. They weren't interested at that point. So just followed up. And then finally, the agent reached back out, who ended up being the seller's brother. And we were able to just have some conversation. He explained to me that she was getting divorced, was liquidating everything, just over it. And she did have a certain number that she needed to meet. So if we could meet that number, we could make something happen. I use batch leads whenever I'm evaluating a property and always check to see if they have a loan on it. Because I'm still, I don't have endless amounts of money. So if I can do a creative deal, I'm going to certainly see if that's an option. And particularly hearing that she had some pain, which was the getting divorced and, wanting to be done with it, I thought it would be a good opportunity after finding out that they do have a loan on the property to present that as an option. So it was a bit of an education curve because realtors, I'm a realtor myself, but sometimes they are the hardest ones to communicate these creative alternatives with. And so there was that education process and being able to explain how this would actually really be a benefit to his seller slash his sister. And after just luckily being, studying Roger and other people, I was able to articulate it well enough that yes, there are some risks, but here's how the risk can be minimized. And it actually turns out to be a huge advantage to her in this situation. We were able to agree on a number and finally got it under contract, and then the work started.
So did you feel like that building a relationship was a part of this whole process?
I feel like that's so important, especially in a creative situation, because there is a bit of a trust factor. It's foreign to them. They've got to trust what you're telling them is true, and building that relationship really comes from my intentions. My intentions is to truly help them and create a win-win. If it's a
Right.
win-win, then I know it's going to be a much easier deal. So building that rapport in the beginning, then finding out their needs. Yeah, I mean, you are building a relationship throughout. So I was first able to do that with the agent, who fortunately was a family member of the seller. And then we ended up, because he was kind of like, look, I'm a brother, I'm kind of just helping, how about y'all talk? So now the seller and I, we've had lunch. I'm actually buying
Yeah.
two other subject twos from that same seller just because we built such a good relationship with her and she really understood, look, if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I just want to make it a win for everybody. So relationships huge.
Yeah.
So how do you structure the deal, or how do you come up with how you structure the deal to the seller?
So I mean, first, like I said, I looked up if she owed anything on it. So then explained, well, I can pay you a little bit more. What you're asking is a little bit more than what I feel comfortable paying. However, here's how I'm able to do it. If I can keep your loan in place, I'm saving a lot of financing charges, lower interest rate, originate all the fees that go along with creating a new loan. I would rather pay you that, Mrs. Seller, than, have to pay it to a lender so we can make this deal work. So for this particular one, I said I'm going to take off your note from what you owe and I'm going to pay you the difference in cash because you wouldn't get that note anyway. So let me keep it and I'll pay you the difference. And so hers was just a very straightforward subject to with the equity paid in cash. Another one I did, I'll tell you really quick, which was really cool. I was doing driving for dollars, which is actually where the majority of my deals come from. I like to just get out, put eyes on it, skip trace it, and then call that way. I found a property in Tyler that did exactly that, called the seller. He lives in Rockwall, and this was his furthest away property. He drives trucks, so he's super busy. And this, I could tell by the way he was talking about it, this is a pain property because it's so far. He just doesn't want to deal with it and he's too busy. So did the same thing, looked up if he had a loan or not on the property. He did. And then what I was able to do is pulled a number out of him somewhat. What he was asking was market value, basically, for the property. So I said, here's how I can make this work. I know you like the income, but you're tired of being a landlord. Found out he didn't need the money. This was a huge factor in this structure of the deal. What I can do is something creative. I'll give you, I'll take over the note that you had and I'll allow you to still make money. I'll allow you to still cash flow on the property by seller financing your equity. And that one ended up working out beautifully for him for those key factors, which I looked for first. He didn't need the money. He was pained by the property. It was just too far. He was tired of dealing, with tenants. And that eliminated those two issues for him. And he liked the cash flow. That one I ended up paying for zero down, subject to the note at 4.5%, and then seller financed the equity at 4%. And we were all happy with it.
That's very good.
Wow.
That's awesome,
We
April.
decided on that one.
Did you have you may have said this, I may have missed it. Did you have a partner on the deal?
So the one that I did zero down, I actually ended up wholesaling that one to another sub two interested investor. That was the single family. On the duplexes, I did bring in a partner that I met through Impact. And that's been a really cool experience because everybody has their strengths and everybody has their weaknesses. And if you can find somebody that you guys have the opposites essentially and fit together, it's a beautiful relationship. And so that one, I did end up bringing a partner on the duplexes where I said, look, here, I'm going to bring this really awesome deal because I was going to assign it first. So I cut my assignment fee on it and had that as my contribution to the property. Also, being a listing agent or an agent, when we go to sell the property, I can take out any commission there as well. So that was how I was able to contribute to the partnership without actually having money out of my own pocket. And then the partner came in, was able to get the property with me at that rock bottom price because I took out any fees. And so she brought the funds to close and pay the seller the equity.
Wow.
How we structured that one was kind of cool. I ended up making that a note back to her to incentivize her to bring that money, and then she's covering the renovations for the property in exchange for me bringing the assignment fee, cutting that out, and then listing the property. And Zach's doing my husband's doing all the work on it. So it was cool. We were able to kind of combine forces. She brought the funds, I brought the property, the skill, I'm managing everything, Zach's doing the work, and we're all happy and added 4 units to our portfolio.
Awesome.
Did you put those into like an LLC or how did you structure that?
Yes, so we formed an LLC together where both of our LLCs own the new LLC. Now I've gone to Randy's seminar and I'm working to get it into a land trust to add on top of that. But we did this prior to me finding out about that. So yeah, we just came together on an LLC. My partner's husband, he's been an amazing resource because again, this isn't my strong suit, but he does the books and the accounting aspect. So I am learning a lot on that side of it. I'm the visionary. I'm like, let's just do the deals and get it done. And then he's the integrator that's like, okay, this is the back end to actually make it work. So he's helped tremendous. So it's kind of been this two couples together and everybody has their contribution. It's been a really beautiful thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very cool.
So with that, what did you what do you think you're learning out of all these different projects? How's that gonna expand your business as you go forward?
So I'm learning. I've had hesitation. I've always had the desire to really make my full-time gig being a real estate investor. Because it's been my background, I felt a little bit pinned as either a realtor or a wholesaler. And I've just been hustling deal after deal with this desire to build a portfolio, but there's fear. There's fear stepping into that new realm. So the biggest lesson is, the saying, feel the fear and do it anyways, is just, it kind of worked out that it made me do it. I couldn't say no, it just worked out. So really pushing through those fears. If you feel like you're studied well, the numbers make sense, it all looks good, just jump over that fence. Just go for it. And it ends up being really well worth it. And then combining the resources, knowing what I'm good at and what I'm lacking. Instead of I'm listening to a really good book right now called Who Not How. I cannot remember the author's name, but it's amazing. And it's that you fill in the gaps. If you're procrastinating on something or you're lacking on something, it doesn't mean you need to go take all your time and learn that. I mean, somebody else already knows that. And you need just to bring in the who's into your life to create that whole picture. And so that's been a real life lesson, is bringing those people in, which have been my partners, to allow me to, even though you're splitting it, you're gaining so much more than trying to go it on your own. So collaboration and, coupling skills has been a huge lesson.
You've got one there in Mineola that we talked about, and
Mhm.
and you've got that now. You've got the two duplexes.
Mhm.
So, what is your goal on how many properties are you hoping to bring onto your portfolio as you go along?
The goal for this year is to bring on another 10. I don't have a limit for the number that I want to bring on. I feel like I want to continue to just keep moving the goalpost, graduate into multifamily as well. So yeah, I want 10 more this year. We're looking at an RV park right now, or actually a mobile home park slash RV park in Tyler. So that could get me right to my goal because it's
Mm-hmm.
more than that number of units. But really, my goal is beyond the financial freedom. I want to teach my kids how to do this, how to still have a life and make money and do what you love and have the quality of life. And so that's where I want to keep adding and growing with that. But specifically 10 more this year, and then I want to do 50 next year and keep growing. So I'm on a rapid
Wow.
pace right now.
Now, are you doing all are you self-managing your properties right now?
At this very moment, I'm self managing, but a huge believer in delegation and the who's, as I mentioned, finding the people that are better at that. Right now, it's going fine. Just with what we have, it's manageable. But knowing in the future as we grow, I want to also, I want to be a quality landlord. I'm not interested in just making the money and providing minimal service. I really like giving these people, like these duplexes you have up here. These were the ugliest ones on the street. I mean, they were horrible. The roof had tarps on them and just not managed well. And it's been really nice to the tenants already seeing the work that we're putting into it and the communication and making a better place for them to be and live. It makes me happy. So it's also soul rewarding work too, beyond profits.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good. So, are you doing any short-term rentals, or everything you're looking at right now is long-term?
Right now, everything is long term. Primarily because I'm unfamiliar with the short term. It's more of a comfort area for me right now. I do have this schoolie though that I need to turn into a short term. I need to put it somewhere. So that will get my feet wet with short term. It's kind of a cool, fun experience for people. So that is one of the upcoming projects I'll do for short term and kind of learn that side of the business is renting out that school bus. Are you familiar with a schoolie?
I am not. Tell us about the school
Oh
bus.
my gosh, I wish I would have sent you pictures. So it's a popular thing. So people are taking old school buses and converting them into RVs. So we did exactly that. We have a 1991 Bluebird that one of the flat nose old school buses that Zach's a woodworker and can do anything, turned into this beautiful RV. It's got like custom cabinets and pull out beds and bunks and whatnot. And so we use it for fun and recreation, but then it sits there the rest of the year in our yard. So I want to, rent it out somewhere. So that's what I'm trying to find a good spot for it because I don't want to rent it on my property. My kids are too sick to have people come to my property. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's
Well,
what's cool.
I know that there's over there at the Texas Rose Horse Ranch over there by Mount Sylvan on the Van Highway.
Exactly. Yeah.
They have a little RV park there, and there's some fifth wheels there that are getting $350 a night.
Wow.
Yeah, just the fifth wheels, $350 a night. So that may
Wow.
be something you might look at, parking there. So
Heck yeah.
that's awesome. That is just awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that Doug and Renee and Gabi and Tim both have some Airbnb, some short-term rentals, some medium-term rentals, I guess, on some of those bases. So they're great resources to reach out on both of them, and how that most or best works for them. So
I need
so
to learn
these
that. I'm
so
interested.
on these two duplexes that we have up on the screen,
Yes.
were they occupied? I didn't even ask you that. Were they occupied when you got them?
3 of the 4 units were occupied, yes. The one is vacant. It took on water a few years ago, and the sellers didn't have enough money to turn it over. So it's been sitting vacant for a while. And that's the one Zach's working on right now.
So are your plans to renovate the other 3 units, or just
Yes.
leave them?
Yep. So the unit that is joined with the white door on the bottom screen, that one was already renovated. Seller did that one. That was the only renovated unit. So that tenant is going to stay. She's an excellent tenant. The one to the right of it with the black door, that was the empty one we're working on. And then the other ones, they need renovations. So we are not renewing with the current tenants, so we can get in there and spiff them up. They don't need as much, so it's just going to be, some paint, countertops, turnover. But roofs are getting done Monday, and we just had all the trees done. I didn't realize how expensive trees were. I'll tell you that. They are a
Crazy,
costly item.
right?
Yeah. I'm going to definitely start factoring that in when I'm running my numbers on projects is trees. If they need to be done, that's expensive. So we just got through that fun learning
I have
lesson.
I have a spreadsheet that you can use. It's got really everything that you need to make an offer. I know it's not detailed like like a contractor would need, but it's good enough that you can put your own numbers in there, and it's got things to do with trees and stuff like that too. So
Excellent. I would love that. That would help tremendously. Yeah.
All right.
That
We'll
was
get it to you, April.
Yes, please.
So on going, you mentioned you're driving for dollars.
Yes.
So tell us how you're doing that. What are you looking for when you're driving a neighborhood?
I am looking for at least 2 distress factors. So overgrown yard, does the roof need to be replaced? Is there peeling paint? Any of those things where you can just tell it needs some love. And then I use the Batch Leads app to actually drive for the dollars. So when I'm right in front of them, I can tell if it's absentee, owner occupied, a little bit of history behind it, and then we'll add it to my list. So yeah, just showing that it's needing some love, and maybe they don't have the funds to fix it.
Absolutely. So we have a question here from Jamon. How do you get these scary buyers off the sidelines without having any inventory for owner finance deals? So I'm not quite sure about that second part of that, but let's talk about the first part. How do you get these scary buyers off the were any of these not buyers, scary sellers, I guess? Did you have any? I know that the duplexes, I think it was, you and I have talked about it. She had some questions about the subject too, and how protected she was and what her risks were. So
Yeah.
how did you give her a comfort level on that?
So I think what ultimately helped her understand her protection was a couple factors. We did the deed in lieu of foreclosure in our subject to agreement, where if we didn't make the mortgage payment by day 31 of its due date, we would automatically execute a deed back to the seller. And what helped me was because these were some of my first subject twos I'd actually closed. What helped me, number one, was Roger. He's amazing and was a huge help on that. But number 2 was having been pretty well studied via information, Roger, that you have or that I could find on YouTube, to be able to confidently articulate to her that I knew what I was talking about and that I knew I could protect her via 1, the deed in lieu of foreclosure. Number 2, we agreed, this isn't necessary, but we agreed just for extra factor that we would hold at all times 3 months of mortgage payments in a bank account. That anytime it was our bank account, we would select it, we would fund it, but at any time she could ask to see it and see that there was enough money in there to cover 3 months. So that helped her tremendously. And then the line you gave me, Roger, which I will use going forward, is look, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, we're investors. We're going to come in and renovate these properties and put a lot of money into it. I'm not going to let it go back to you. I'm not going to not make the payment with all my money sitting into it. And let's say, worst case scenario, I get abducted by aliens. you get to take back in 31 days this property that we've put all this work into. So all of those factors really helped to, calm any of her concerns and realize that she did have a lot of protection in the deal through those things that I mentioned.
Very good. Very good. So these other ones that you're negotiating with her, so she's very comfortable with everything. Are you going to have to bring any cash to the table? There's there a lot of equity in those, or how's that
There's
work?
minimal equity on those, and so there will need to be cash. And all of hers were through the same bank, so it was really easy to work with her again. The bank that she had, this seller, she has a brother that's a realtor, three brothers that are attorneys. She has 10 siblings. One that's an insurance guy. So she had a lot of outside advice. You guys probably know in doing deals, everybody knows somebody that's got an opinion on how it should go. So she had a lot of those opinions that we had to jump through. Roger, you got on one of the call with two of the siblings talking about it. And so we had to really, make her feel comfortable with that. But since we did it already with these next deals have just been really easy. Through the first deal, though, she wanted to talk to the bank. This part I got a little bit scared about. And Roger, we had talked about it. Is she wanted to confirm it was okay with the bank. Everything that I had understood was that's kind of a no-no. You really want to just keep the bank out of it. Know that everything you're doing is legal, but it may overcomplicate things if they talk to the bank. So I expressed that to her pretty much that way, that look, I can't stop you if you want to do it, it's fine. However, if they start adding fees or requirements or whatever, we haven't agreed upon price and term, that's going to have to come off of your end. So knowing that, it's up to you if you want to do it. So she did end up talking to the bank, and much to my surprise, they were totally fine with it. Had no problems with it and have worked with us so seamlessly throughout this whole process. So that was a huge relief. Even, presenting it to them, they made it super easy.
Very good. Very good. So, well, good deal. That's I love your stories. I love your your aggressiveness. I guess I can't say assertiveness. Of how you're making this happen, how you're actually taking action and making and looking for opportunities that are out there, looking to solve problems. And most of my deals that I've done are referrals from other deals that I've done.
Yeah.
People are happy with how we make that happen, and we're excited about solving problems, and when you get excited about that, people seem to put your name out there and make other things happen. So
you're really hitting it. You're really hitting that. If I could drive anything home, that's the most important part. Is like you said, most of your deals now come from past sellers. If you can really, I learned this in early real estate sales. They called it commission breath. Don't go in there just like, I just want to make all this money and how can I get the listing at whatever cost. If you can put that aside and just truly know and understand from hearing other investors' experiences that if you really go in there to help them and solve the problem, call it karma, call it whatever you want, it's going to work out so much better. Whether it doesn't work out on that deal or it does, it's going to be the future referrals that you are really there to help people. It's going to grow your business so much more.
And I built friendships of people that I've done these things with, or these subject twos with, and other purchases too. Not all of them are subject twos, but I built some great relationships there, and I get that call on a pretty regular basis. Are you still doing that real estate thing that you do? That thing, and and it's just I've got a neighbor, that has this, and like I say all the time, as birds of a feather flock together, and whatever that saying is. So, April, thank you so much for your wisdom and your insight and your hard work and making that happen to prove to everybody that this can be done, right?
Absolutely.
So make that happen. And if you want more information, just reach out to us, and we can definitely get you some answers.